quickly do one thing. We'll just do the conclusion part. By the time India won its independence, the impact of 2 century-long British colonial rule was already showing all aspects of Indian economy. Right. So, India got independence after so many years. So, like, if the people who are ruling us, they like the impact, how they were ruling us and whatever was happening, like we were aware of all that, right? Agriculture sector was already settled with surplus labor and extremely low productivity. Industrial sector was crying. This is the situation. So, agriculture sector was settled. It never grew. And industrial sector was crying for modernization. Like, it wanted changes, but there was like it wanted modernization, diversification, capacity building, increased public investment, but no help was given to Britishers. Foreign trade was oriented to feed the industrial revolution in India. There was a foreign trade, right? India used to export raw material to Britishers and even used to import the finished good. There was. But it was all, they were feeding the industrial revolution in India. Whatever India was exporting or importing, they were feeding, they were helping to, that was, they were helping Britishers to grow. They were helping industrialized revolution in Britain, right? Next, infrastructure facilities, including the yeah, okay. So next, infrastructure facilities, including the railway networks, needed upgradations, expansion, and public orientation. Right. So of course there was like railways introduced by Britishers plus roads and all that. Of course they introduced it, but they also needed an upgradation. Right. They also need expansion. They also need public orientation. Next, prevalence of rampant poverty and unemployment required welfare orientations of public economic policy. So basically, there was like rampant poverty all over the India. There was unemployment. There was poverty. They wanted those policies which will help people to grow, which will bring social welfare in the country. In a nutshell, the social and economic challenges before India were enormous. When India got independence, the social and economic challenges were enormous. You can say not only single, each and every part of India was suffering, and they wanted few peoples to come up and help them with the policy so that India can grow. So this was overview of the entire chapter, how the things was there. Okay. So first we'll do few questions, and after that I'll share few questions with you, which we are going to do. And you are not going to write, like I won't, because I have already mentioned most of the point and we are almost done. So we'll discuss question and answer, and I'll share the PDF with you people. Like this PDF plus this I won't be sharing. This is a chapter, but I'll share the PDF of question and answer because I don't want you people to waste your time writing questions and answers. Okay. But this thing and all that we'll be doing it, and others you won't be writing. I'll just let you know what you have to write, but other you will be referring to the PDF which I will share in the group. Is it fine?
Yes, teacher, fine.
Yeah. Why? Because there are lots of questions. And, when we do theory portion, there are lots of things. Right. It's not about only one chapter or two chapters. You have so many chapters, and you have to, like, there are from one chapter itself, we can frame out 100 plus questions. So each and every question is different from first one, right? Somewhere similar, but somewhere different. So if you'll write all the question answer, then it's of no use. So we'll discuss. I'll show the PDF so that whenever I'll be taking your test and all that. Today and in the next class, we'll discuss questions and answers. And after that, I'll take your test. Is it fine?
Fine, teacher.
Okay. So basically, we'll start. We did this question. This one we have to write. Okay. So question was, name some modern industries which were in operation in our country at the time of independence. Okay. So this was, you all people know what were the just go through your notes and let me know what will be the answer for this question. Some modern industries which were in operation in our country at the time of independence. I hope you people are aware of all this. I'm just scrolling it down. You can even find the answer from screen itself. Okay. So who will tell me the answer? Okay. So Amos, you'll like to answer?
Yes, teacher.
Yeah, tell me.
Ma'am, it's the textile industry, handicraft industry.
Modern industries.
Okay.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, teacher. Yes.
Yeah. And even in your notes, you can take out this page and you'll get to know. There were basically 3 or 4 industries, the modern one.
Yes, teacher. Then the iron and steel and sugar, cement, paper,
Yeah.
etc.
Yes. So basically, modern industries first, textile industry, cotton textile and jute textile, right? And next one was iron and steel industries, which is Tata Iron and Steel Company. This was the first company. And next, few other industries like sugar industries, cement industries, paper industry. So these were modern industries. I hope you people have written this answer, so I won't be asking you people to write this question again. And now coming to define capital good industries. This also you people know what is capital good industries, right? Here you have written that capital good industries means industries which can produce machine tools which are in turn used. So basically capital good industries are those industries which help in production of further goods, right? So for example, I bought a machine, printing machine. From that printing machine, I am producing notebooks. I am producing books. So that is the industries where printers are being made. That industry will be known as capital good industry. Clear, everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Next one is name the area of operation of public sector under the British colonial rule. This question everyone will quickly write it down because this is important. Name the area of operation of public sector under British colonial rule.
Done, ma'am.
Done.
Oh. Okay, so basically, like we were doing which question? Just a minute. It is 1.3, right? 3. Yeah. So basically, which were the question was? So sorry. Yeah. So the question was, what was the question? That name the areas of operation. See, public sector, under public sector, which were the areas that were operating, right? There are lots of areas, right? So under public sector, which were the areas? So basically, railways, power generation, communication, ports, and some other departmental undertakings were under public, and rest was under private sector. Clear? Railway, power generation, communication, ports, and some other departmental undertakings were under the public sector, and other was under private. Clear? Just quickly write it down.
Done, ma'am.
Done, ma'am. Okay. Next one is this question. Which restrictive policies pursued by colonial government adversely affected the structure, composition, and volume of India's foreign trade? Okay. So which were those policies which which affected the structure? So basically, what was the structure that it made India the exporter of primary goods, right? And it make India the importer of finished goods. So all those things made India like the Indian economy was in a bad condition because of all that. Okay, so the restrictive policies of commodity production, trade and tariff pursued by colonial government adversely affected the structure. So first, commodity production. Commodity production is basically what you are going to produce. So they forced India to become the exporter of raw material and then the importer of finished goods. So commodity production, they made the policies that this is you're going to produce, this is you are not going to produce. And then trade and tariff. They told with which country you can trade and with which country you cannot trade. And tariff is this will be the tax, right? So because of these three things, it adversely affected the structure and composition and volume of India's foreign trade. Clear? So quickly you'll write it down. First write the question. Which restrictive policy is this? And then the answer. Let me know once you're done with the question.
Done, ma'am.
Done, ma'am. Okay, so this is what you are going to write. The restrictive policies of commodity production, trade, and tariff pursued by colonial government adversely affected. Okay, just don't write everything. Just write restrictive policies of commodity production and trade and tariff pursued by colonial government. Okay. Students done?
Done,
Done,
ma'am.
Next, indicate the structure and composition of India foreign trade during the colonial period. So, you know that structure and composition we have already done, right? Next, indicate the direction of trade during British rule. So, what was the trade? Basically, India foreign trade was restricted to Britain and with few other countries like China, Ceylon, and Persia. Okay, so this one you know, and I'm not asking you to write it again. Last one, why did the export surplus not result in any flow of gold and silver into India? See, export was with the introduction of railways and all that, it automatically increased the export, right? But apart, like instead of increase in export, there was no inflow of gold and silver in India. This is very important question. So what is the answer? So the export surplus did not result in any flow of gold or silver into India, as this was used to make payment for the expenses incurred by the office set up by the colonial government in Britain, expenses on war, and the import of invisible items. All this led to drain of Indian wealth. Now, this is very important. What was happening from India? Export was like raw materials, everything was going, but instead of all this, nothing was coming. Why? Because whatever money was coming, right? Export was going, money was coming. So whatever money was coming, that money Britishers were using, and they were using for first, they were using that money for making payment. Or for example, there were offices. They they established offices in India. So of course, electricity bill, rent, and all that. So they were using the money to maintain the expense of offices. And second thing, whatever war they were fighting, they were using the money in the wars. And whatever items they want to import, they were even using the money for that. Because of that, India's wealth drained, because Indians were working hard, Indian economy was working hard, it was getting destroyed. But in return, see, if you're working hard and in return you are not getting anything, that is something, your wealth and your health will be drained out. So this was happening. Indians were working hard, everything was done by India, but reward was given to Britishers. Like whatever money was coming, Britishers were using it for their own purpose, like paying rents, expenses on war, imports of things. They were not using that money for Indian economic growth. So because of that, uh, instead of having lots of export, lots of good export, there was no inflow of gold and silver in India. Is it clear, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Others?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So quickly write it down.
Ma'am, can you show the question?
Okay, just a minute. So sorry.
Done, ma'am. Done, ma'am. Done, ma'am.
Everyone done?
Done, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. So I'm just sharing few more questions. Okay. So be very attentive because that PDF I'll be sharing with you people for question answer. But before that, I need to explain you few more things. Students, can you see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So basically, this is the sequence of event. Okay. So you have to remember the sequence as well as the dates. So first, introduction of railway in India by Britishers 1850. Then opening of Suez Canal 1869. Then various detail about the population of British India were collected through a census. So British India collected a data of Indian population through a census which was conducted in 1881. Okay. The Tata Iron and Steel Industries was incorporated 1907, and the second stage of demographic transition in India 1921. Okay. Okay, students. Actually, I think I have missed out few things in this chapter. We haven't done the demographic structure, right? Just check your note and let me know. We haven't done the demographic structure, right? Just check your notes and let me know. Just let me know what I have done, okay? Because I think I have missed out few points because I think I was doing that in other batch, so I just assumed that we did it. Okay, so from starting, can anyone please check it? Amos, just do it. You were there in all the classes, right?
Yes, ma'am. We haven't done it.
Yeah. So just let me know what we have done, huh? First, we have done like why there was low level of economic development under colonial rule, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Then we did agriculture sector. Then we did industrial sector, right? And after that, we did India's foreign trade during the British colonial period. And then we just did the railway part. We didn't did, yeah, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So basically, we missed out the demographic part and the occupation. Okay. We were done with the infrastructure. Like infrastructure, we have done roads, railway, and the inland and all that. So we are basically left with two parts, demographic part and the occupation structure of the colonial period. Okay, so we'll just cover it today. So you have to write it. Okay, I'll just share the snaps of my book today because I don't have PPT right now. I hope that will be visible. Till then, you can write the sequence and then because you know I was aware that like we haven't done the demographic transition, we haven't done the census part. So you were not this three we have done. Suez Canal, you know, right? Railways, you know, Tisco, you know, but these 2 points were different, right? So somewhere I got to know that we haven't done that. So just write it down and just give me 2 minutes. I'm just sharing the snap of my book. We'll just cover it from that. Is it fine?
Okay, ma'am.
Others?
Yes, ma'am. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Okay. So sorry for that.
Done, ma'am.
Everyone done?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you see my screen? Though please manage it. Huh? I have a very like my book is like in the worst condition, but still, right? So basically, we were done. Like we were done with few other parts, the industrial sector, the agriculture sector, but we left two parts, and somewhere I don't know how I skipped it. Okay. So first thing is that after industrial thing, what happened? Like you know, the sector was like not in a good condition and all that. So India's wealth during colonial period. Okay, so this is what was the how India wealth drained during the colonial period. So most important characteristics of India's foreign trade through colonial period was generation of large export. This you have done, right? The question we did. But this export surplus came at huge cost to India economy. See, drain of Indian wealth you have already done, but you'll just give like the hashtag because you have already written the question for this. Okay, so what happened? Several essential commodities like food grain, clothes, kerosene, etc. were scarcely available in domestic market. See, India was producing all food grains, clothes, kerosene, everything. But what Britishers were doing, Britishers were asking them to export it, right? So see, I am producing it, but somewhere I cannot use it, right? So essential, these are the essential commodities. They were like scarcely available in the domestic market, and furthermore their export surplus did not result in any flow of goods and silver in India. Rather, this was used to make payments for expenses incurred by the officers. So, like this already I have mentioned you, right? Clear? So you just have to write it. Drain of Indian wealth during how Indian wealth drained during the colonial period. So first, several commodities like this, they were scarcely available, and next, export was there, and whatever payment, just write in short that whatever payment was being made through the export, it was used by the Britishers. Clear? Just make a short note for this. You'll write how Indian wealth drained during colonial period. Okay. So first, several essential commodities, they were scarcely, like this and this, they were scarcely available. And next, though the export was surplus, but the amount which was like the amount of money, or you can say the profit which was getting from export, that was used by Britishers for their own profit, right? I hope it's clear, everyone.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Others,
ma'am.
we're getting it?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, hope everyone is getting it. Done, students?
Done, ma'am.
Okay, others?
Done.
Done, ma'am.
Done, ma'am.
Oh. Okay. Now, quickly, basically the demographic condition of India during the colonial period. So, what is demographic? So, demography is basically like what the birth rate is, basically relating to demography, like what's the birth rate is, death rate is, literacy rate, everything that comes under demographic condition. Okay. So various statistics about the population, like demography basically means population, related to population. And if it is related to population, then it can be like what the birth rate is, what the death rate is, what the literacy, female literacy, everything related to population. Okay. So various details about population of British India were first collected through the census. So first census was conducted in 1881 through Britishers. It revealed the unevenness in India's population growth. Subsequently, operations were carried out. Before 1921, India was in the first stage of demographic transition. The second stage of transition became in 1921. Okay. So what was happening? Basically, there is a like now, ma'am, what is demographic transition? So demographic transition is basically, I'll just let you know, people. Though you people are not a part of humanity, so yeah. See, earlier, basically your demographic transition is divided into three phases. First, second, and third. So what was happened? Like earlier, there was nothing. There was no technology, nothing. So see, I'll represent this one with, this one is birth rate, and this one will be your death rate. Okay. So what earlier in the first stage, birth rate was high, right? And the death rate was also high. Clear? So both, you can say both, they were simultaneously growing. Okay. So birth rate and your death rate both were growing. Why? Birth rate was high because there was no family planning. There was nothing. There was nothing, right? So birth rate was high. There was, you can compare, like earlier there was used to be like, right now, there are limited small family. But earlier there was a large joint family, large families, right? So there was birth rate, and plus death rate was high. Death rate was high. Why? Because, for example, you fell sick. There's no alternative for you to do things, right? There was no medical facility. So that's why birth rate plus death rate started growing. Okay. So what happened? Now birth rate was high in the second one. This death rate slowly started coming down, but birth rate was still very high, right? Death rate, why death rate started coming down? Because medical facilities were introduced, right? And coming to third stage, both birth rate and the death rate, they came down. Why? Because now people are aware of family plannings. They are aware of that population is, causing lots of problem and all that. So family planning plus medical facilities are there. So that's why both birth rate and death rate, they came down. Clear? So earlier both was high. Second, birth rate came down. Yeah, birth rate was there somewhere, but death rate came down because now medical facilities were there. And why? Because information is something which takes time to spread out, right? So people were slowly coming to third stage. Both birth rate and death rate came down. Is it fine with everyone? These are the three stages. Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Others, I want a reply from everyone.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So, okay, I'll just explain it again. Basically, there were three stages. First, second, third. Earlier, people were not aware of family plannings. People were not aware that population is causing so much problem. So, birth rate was very high, right? Plus, death rate was also high because once you fell sick, no medical treatment will be given to you, so you cannot survive. So, this was because of that, death rate was very high. Birth rate, death rate, both were high. Then coming to second stage, death rate started falling down because medical facilities were introduced. So now there was chances we can save a human being from, from all the medical facilities are there. So we can save a human being from any disease. We can help them to survive, right? But people were not aware. Still, people were not aware of family planning and all that. So birth rate was somewhere high, but death rate started coming down. In third stage, both birth rate and death rate, they came down. Why? Death rate, why death rate came down? Because now medical facilities are there, hospitals were there, treatments can be provided. Birth rate, now people are more informative, information is being shared, they are more aware about family planning, everything is done in a good way. So because of this, in third stage, both the things, both birth rate and death rate, they came down. Is it fine now, everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
I hope everyone is fine, right? Okay. So what was that? See, census was conducted in 1881. This you know. Before 1921, India was in first stage. Okay, and after 1921, second stage started. So before 1921, what was the demographic structure? Before 1921, India was in first stage. That means birth rate and death rate both was high. And after 21, it came down. So after 21, it came down. That means birth rate was high, but death rate came down. Clear? So you are going to write India's demographic condition during British colonial period. So you will write before 1921, India was in first stage, and in bracket you can write first stage means birth rate and death rate both are high, and then you will write the second stage of transition began after 1921. Then you will write in second stage death rate came down and birth rate was still somewhere high, right? And inside, if you want to make a demographic table, like the demographic chart, you can draw it like this. Or you can write first stage, birth rate and death rate both were high, second stage, and the third stage, like this, so that you can get an idea. So quickly write it down, everyone. You'll just put the heading, India's demographic condition during colonial period. Then you'll write like this. First write, in India, there was unevenness of population growth. Unevenness in population growth. Then second point, before 1921, if I'll say there was an even growth is basically everything is going in the same direction, but there was uneven. Somewhere death rate was coming down, so birth rate was really high. So before 1921, India was in first stage of demographic transition. In bracket, just write birth rate and death rate both were high, right? And then it came down in the second transition, and over here, right, birth rate was high somewhere, but death rate came down. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Got it? How to write? Okay, so quickly write it down. India's demographic condition during colonial period. So India's population growth was uneven. And second point, 1921 this, and after 1921, second stage.
Done, ma'am.